Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny. That is Dylan. That is Sal. I'm pointing in places that probably don't even matter because Dylan doesn't leave it on the screen. This is the channel where we sit around talking about your favorite movies, normally superhero themed, TV shows, normally superhero themed, but we just chat about movies and TV shows in general. And if you want to join the Absolute Armada today, consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and turning on, no, I said that backwards, liking a notification bell. What? I've been doing that recently. My brain's jumbling it all up.
Probably because it's stupid that you have to click buttons in order to get notified when you're subscribed to a channel.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
I will say TikTok's got that algorithm better. If I just watch a video for more than 2 seconds, they'll come back.
Boom! They fill you up.
That's true.
Yeah.
I one time saw some YouTuber talking about how the only way that YouTube will tell you if a video comes out is by subscribing. And I was like, oh, that's so naive. You think that even if you subscribe, YouTube will show you the video? Oh.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
How long have you been doing this?
That's not how this works.
So in our continued Batwatch, which we have dubbed this Batwatch, even though I think... I did Google that, and the only people that have Batwatch had it like forever ago and didn't use it. So we're
Good.
fine.
We're steamrolling over them with our algorithm.
We're Batwatch.
We are Batwatch, which we have decided will probably continue afterwards with the animated movies. And then if it's still doing well, we'll watch 3 episodes of the animated series at a time and just get the opinions.
There we go.
I've not seen any of that, so that works.
Yeah. I love
show.
that you haven't seen it. I did throw up an idea of I want to get your opinions on a movie, and Sal just laughed at me bringing this one up. I want to see if you'd be willing to watch Clockwork Orange, just so that you can just WTF the whole movie.
I've seen scenes from that.
Yeah.
It's been on my list for a while.
I will say, I want to get your opinions on it, because even once you watch the full movie, the context doesn't help.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so today is going to be Batman Begins. And before I get into it, I want to state, last time I said this trilogy is one of my least favorite Batman trilogies. And I said that maybe because at this point in my life, I had just joined the army, I was preparing to deploy to Iraq. This was a realistic take on Batman, and there was a lot of realism happening in my life at that time.
Yeah, a little too real.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a core thing in this movie is war profiteering. So
Yeah.
So I will say, I'll let you guys get your opinions on the overall movie before we go into like usual. My overall opinion before we deep dive, I actually really liked it on a rewatch.
Hey.
There's still parts I disliked very much, like I don't like your decision with this. And I will say the biggest thing I disliked was how Christian Bale looked in the cowl. I still don't like the fishbowl kind of cowl.
He looks
that kind of pushes him forward like this.
Yes.
I don't like that.
Yeah, they're trying a thing, and especially in context. Well, now that we have the polar opposite of that, where it's like no cowl down here, it's like a Daredevil helmet.
Yeah.
I can see that looking even more ridiculous. I mean, I do notice it on the rewatch, how like focused his little mouth is, but yeah, I understand that complaint.
Yeah. So, Sal, then we'll go to your. Is this your first time, or is this one you've already seen before, Dylan? When it came out,
I've seen this movie like 4 times.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then what's your overall opinion of Batman Begins, Sal, on a rewatch?
I mean, I like this movie. I think it's well made. There are some things I got some gripes, but like overall, I mean, I think it looks really good. I remember being hyped when they announced the cast. I liked Insomnia when they announced that Nolan was making this movie, and I'm like, all right, cool, a real filmmaker making a film,
right? Let's
do it. And it looked good, and I loved the idea behind it and the approach, and I was like taken aback by how good Christian Bale was with his portrayal of Batman and his like balancing his Bruce Wayne Batman really works, and I think he really does he strikes a good balance with that character.
I agree with that. He does do both. Like the whole time we've been doing Batwatch, we've constantly been saying like he was a good Batman, he was a good Bruce Wayne. No, he's the first. I'm good at both.
Yeah, I think he nails both. Although there is this reluctance, and of course, like the next movies will reveal that. Like, do I need to be Batman though? And then, there's only one really like. There's 2 for me really weak spots in the casting, but otherwise, it's almost flawless in its casting. It's like one of those things. This is the movie where for me I was like, why? I remember always thinking like, why do they cast someone like? If you have like a brilliant cast, why do they always pick like one really bad actor to drag it down.
Who are we referencing?
Katie
Name drop.
Holmes. She's
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. I was gonna say, because that's my biggest thing I want to discuss when we get past Dylan's opinions, but I want to
Yes.
discuss, like, she just seemed so not.
she
She
just
wasn't
shouldn't-
on the
checked
same
out.
level as
She
everyone
shouldn't
else.
be there. Like, she is so out of
Recast
her
her?
depth. They did recast her, yes.
Yeah.
With Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Right.
Just someone who is totally not her. Like, it was just a different person. They might as well have said she died off camera on her way back to her home planet. And then there was another character that he really liked. But anyway, otherwise, I mean, like, and she's so negligible. Like, she's not really important. I mean, she is. She's super important. And she's like the fulcrum of the whole damn thing. But you were watching the movie for Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, Batman,
Yeah.
you know, the Falcons, like you're looking for that. And then there's like this subplot they keep throwing at you, like, don't worry, he's in love with her. And I'm like, I really don't care. And no one does either. Stop trying to make Batman in love with somebody. Nobody cares.
Yeah. That's a constant problem with Batman movies. We'll discuss that more in depth
Yeah.
when we get to that. I do want to comment that this is the movie that started the Ra's versus Roz debate.
Yes, big time.
Because before this, I believe it was Roz elsewhere.
We always said Raish, like, because of the
Wait,
animated
okay.
series. And then this
Okay.
movie comes out, and, like, I'll never forget being in the theater, and this old woman in the party scene just goes, am I saying this right, Mr. Ra's al Ghul? And I'm
Yeah.
like, no one is saying it right. And I know it is. Actually, I've already written 18 comments saying that Raz is more correct. Like, good for you, man. I don't care. It'll always be Raish.
For those who aren't in the know, the problem with it is it was pronounced one way, but then the creators, due to their Jewish lineage, somebody later on said, oh, they must have meant it this way, and it's gone back and forth ever since then. Like,
Right.
That's all it is, and the problem is in spoken media, it has been said both ways.
Yeah.
So depending on what your first Batman introduction was, that has become your pronunciation of Ra's versus Roz.
Exactly.
So-
I get both, and I couldn't care less.
Yeah, well, and that's always been my argument with mispronunciations, because I'm well known for that over on Comic Historian. Is if as long as you know who I'm talking about, and I'm not being outright disrespectful. Me getting it wrong is me getting it wrong. Me making fun of something is a different issue in its entirety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Dylan, what'd you think of the movie? Again.
I really like
fifth
this
time.
movie. I think watching this directly after watching the 4 previous Batman films is an
Yeah.
interesting perspective to have, because like it's way more similar to those than I originally thought. Like I remember, like, this trilogy is always looked back on as like, oh, it's the gritty Batman, like it's the realistic gritty Batman, but there's still like, they still make an effort, albeit a slightly smaller one, to make Gotham look otherworldly. There's still goofy, like, slapstick comedy in this movie. Like,
Yep.
it's very similar to a common complaint that the Batman gets a lot, is like, oh, it's not funny. But I think that's only because it's, you know, this movie, Batman Begins, was being contrasted with the Joel Schumacher movies, which are very clearly goofy.
Yes.
And the Batman is being contrasted with Marvel movies, which are very clearly funny. So, like, it's harder to have people who aren't used to comedy and, like, you know, gritty realism to pick that apart. But yeah, I enjoy this movie. The acting, like you mentioned, Sal, is bang on. I think Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine are standouts to me.
oh yes, 100%.
And in really anything, but they're really good. I really enjoy. This is something I picked up on this time that I don't know if I picked up on the last time I watched this. Is like it has a theme. Like of fear and conquering fear and mastering it.
Is there a theme of fear?
Yeah, it's pretty in your face.
Is there a theme of fear? Because every character will say fear at some point.
Yeah.
But I think that's
make sure every fifth page someone has to say fear.
I don't remember if as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being that prominent. I agree with you on that.
It is.
Dylan.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, everybody is talking about their
I didn't
greatest
pick up
fear.
on that last time, because I think last time I watched this, I think I was probably like 17 or something.
Yeah.
But
I haven't
yeah,
watched it since it came out. I literally watched it when it came
Okay.
out. Was not a huge fan of it, like I said, because of everything
That's
going
right.
on.
That's right. Yeah.
It came out in May, and I was going through the Army process at that point, and I was in the Army that August, September-ish. So,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
for me, this was just, oh, cool, Batman came out with the movie, whatever.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the just the fact that it has a theme in general. Because like in superhero
at least
movies,
it's trying something. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, like you can tell that like Christopher Nolan made this movie. Like there's intent there, and it's like sometimes to its detriment. Where like one of the criticisms I have of the movie is like all of the action is boring and incredibly hard to follow.
Yeah, that's the Bourne holdover, because the first Bourne movie also was like the cinematography for action sequences was just get it in, get it out, and make sure it's quick cuts and we just move on. Like,
the only action sequence that I really enjoyed was the tumbler scene. Because even the final battle on the train, which just felt condensed, it felt like it just wasn't really a lot going on, but there was.
It's hard to do shaky cam when you're in the air. Shooting wide.
It was very weird to watch these action sequences having just watched The Batman, where it's like 20 minutes of him beating on dudes practically at one point.
It looks great.
And I just watched, I was watching Fast and the Furious, and that's literally 30-minute action sequence followed by like Dom being like family, and then we go back into it. Like I went from like Fast 9 to this, and I'm like, okay, like
it is a relic. Like they're not going to shoot action sequences like this anymore. At least the Tumblr scene is easier to follow.
Yeah.
But yes, that is fun, and it's fun.
I saw a lot of the Tumblr scene in the new Batman. Having remembered, because I just saw that, I'm like, holy crap! They totally jacked so much Tumblr.
It's very similar.
Like,
yeah, I prefer the Batman.
Oh, I do too, because I love muscle cars. I love muscle cars. I love that Batmobile. I love what they did. I'm just saying that sequence. Then watching Batman Begins, I was like, they just took the Tumblr chase sequence.
They're very similar movies, like the two, which is interesting. But I think like
that.
I want to applaud this movie also for being an origin movie and not feeling like it's bogged down by the origin. Like it's very like the midpoint is when the origin is done, and you get another hour and a half that feels like its own movie, and that's like solid, like really good pacing in this movie. I don't like the flashbacks. I think like to him as a kid, I think they're weird, and I don't like the. I don't like Joe Chill's involvement at all. But
no,
that's
it's not
a personal
good.
thing.
Well, and it's what's weird, and it's a carryover you'll see in all of the movies, like all three of the Nolan movies, and I don't know what the stylistic decision is, but all of the criminals who are not super criminals, like Jonathan Crane, Cillian Murphy's great.
Oh yeah,
and
he's fantastic.
He's doing stuff in that movie, but everyone else, like Falcone, but everybody from Falcone to the Michael J. White gangster in Dark Knight to the Eric Roberts gangster in Dark Knight's Rise. No, he's in Dark Knight too. There's another stupid gangster in the third one. But like when all the gangsters are played by clownish, cartoonish, bad character actors, and I don't understand like what the decision is. Like Ken Watanabe plays fake Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
And he's playing it straight. But then Falcone comes in and everybody says Falcone, which is like not everyone says that, but he comes in, he's like, don't come down here with your anger. Like he just sounds like
the accent and everything.
He sounds like a pizza pie slinging like fake character. And he's British, so it's like I know he's doing his voice, but like come on.
Right.
Like Colin Farrell did the same thing with the Penguin, but I get that because he's Penguin. This guy's supposed to be like a hard-edged, rough and tumble, like a Tony Soprano. And he's just like, fear. You always fear what you don't understand. And I'm like, this is so lame. And every regular criminal is just so weirdly cartoonish. And Batman is like, Alfred, I'm hurt. Please come get me. I'm hurt. And it's like you believe it, but like for some reason, with all the regular crime, they're like, this is stupid. Get this out of here. I don't care about this. Also, what the hell is up with that scene where Batman gives Joffrey from Game of Thrones his telescope? He's just like, all the kids don't believe me. He's like, well, here, have one of my telescopes.
I got 10,000 of these.
But like, that's a Wayne Tech telescope. You know it's going to say like Wayne on the side, right? Like,
you scratch the serial number off.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to assume the thought process behind that is Wayne Tech's kind of easy to come by.
Right, everyone has Wayne Tech.
Yeah.
It's also like, there's an entire scene in the first half of the movie where they have to go about ordering the cowl and everything in ways that
I thought that
make
was
it so
funny.
that
Great scene.
Yeah. No, I love that,
guess
but that's
we'll have
I'm saying
plenty.
like
Yeah, you're right.
you can
It's all Wayne
you
tech.
can
Like-
extend that to say like they probably put a similar level of thought into every other piece of gear that Batman uses so that it can't
Yeah.
be tracked back to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. It's also got the Iron Man effect, where Iron Man is one of the most watchable MCU movies of all time. And one of the main reasons for that is because of how joyfully it's filmed and how much fun it is to watch Tony Stark turn into Iron Man. Like, I'll bet the number one, pre-Endgame, the number one sequence that was YouTubed from an MCU movie was all of him becoming Iron Man. Like, setting, like, testing the suit, learning how to fly, all that stuff. Like, no, I'm talking about, like, when he's in his lab.
Oh,
and he's,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
deciding what color it's going to be and how he builds it all
He's
and
like
stuff like
tweaking
that.
stuff.
But, like, it's so fun to watch him, like, does it come in black? Or, like, the microfiber, rigidity, electricity
Yeah.
cape, and just watching him become Batman and how joyful Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox is in that scene. Like, everyone's enjoying what they're doing, and it's fun to watch him become Batman, to watch Batman begin, which is like, oh, a movie.
I want to say one thing I found great about Morgan Freeman's Lucius Fox and Michael Caine and even Gordon.
Oh,
They questioned to an extent, but all of them were like, "I'm also not an idiot."
right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't treat me like a moron. Fair
Yeah.
enough. You got it. Yeah, I guess they didn't.
Yeah.
No, one of my favorite lines in the whole movie is, well, I guess they didn't try to market it to the base jumping billionaire spelunking crowd.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Gary Oldman. I remember when they said Gary Oldman, and I was like, done! And then they showed a picture of him, and I'm like, that's just him from Long Halloween!
Yeah, it's just him.
Yeah, he does an amazing job as Gordon. I loved his portrayal. I actually really like this. Like, it's funny because one thing I remember is when Batman v Superman came out, and we'll get to that, everyone was just goofing on the fact that they kind of retold the origin again.
Yeah.
But having just watched all four of the originals all the way into here, we've barely touched on the origin until now.
Yeah, we see the Waynes die in 89 and in Begins.
But Begins actually explores it, while 89
Forever
just...
also Forever wants to explore it, but they keep cutting it. Like, you
Yeah.
can see, like,
Yeah.
they keep getting to it, and then, like, someone in the editing was like, no! Nobody cares about the Red Book.
But I just remember too, and I think it's just because like fudged memories from everything now that I'm rewatching it. But at the time of Batman v Superman, seeing them do the Pearl scene and everything, I'm like, oh my god, we're doing the origin again.
Yeah.
It's like
I
actually,
had-
what do you mean? What am I thinking again? We haven't done
I
it
had that same
much.
thought, and
Yeah.
I think that's internet culture because I
Yeah.
think that we do see it a lot in comics and we see it a lot in animated shows as well.
Yeah.
So I think just the zeitgeist at the time, like somebody somewhere once said we see Batman's origin a lot, and this was also coupled with seeing Spider-Man's origin a lot and again.
Yeah.
And that created
Right.
this atmosphere on the internet of people being upset about seeing origins just because they're origins and we've seen them all the time. So like
Right. Like, how
By
many
the time
times
you
are
get
we
to
gonna see
Batman v
Uncle Ben get
Superman-
shot? And it's like,
yeah, exactly. And like
saw
by
it
the time
twice.
you get to BVS, it's like, hey, we've like our brains are like we've seen this a million times. And also in that movie you do not need to see it at all. We know who Batman is.
Yeah.
So it's like that I feel
But
like
it's
that's
also
why.
interesting because this is, and I want to get back to the characters, but this is one of the interesting things I found about Batman Begins. So, like, as someone who only watched it at launch, never really revisited it outside of seeing it on TV occasionally,
yeah.
I always assumed that this was more in line with when Iron Man came out as a response. But the fact is, this came out in 05 while Iron Man dropped in about 08, which means that this kind of set up that.
2005?
Yeah. So this is
That's
basically
crazy.
Batman, when they decided to reinvent him, kind of showed the world that a superhero movie can be taken seriously. This kind
Right.
of set up where the MCU ended up going, because even if they were in talks for Iron Man now, that's still 3 years until Iron Man, which means they weren't even really doing production yet.
No.
Batman set up what we have now because it showed how successful a Batman movie and a serious superhero movie can be. You know, and they even
Yeah.
poked fun at what happened to the X-Men where they were just always in black leather outfits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, Batman Begins set up a lot of things. It set up the like grounded superhero movie.
Yeah.
The way that X-Men couldn't. You know, like X-Men wanted to with like its real world allegories and whatnot, but it's still, you know, it's people shooting lasers out of their faces and stuff. It's hard to ground that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I still enjoyed the movie. It's still a watchable movie all by itself. As I said, I think it's most joyful. You're having fun. The Tumblr scene's great. Everything about it's great. The Rachel Dawes stuff, I get it, but also I don't really need it. She's so
She
out of her
felt
depth.
unnecessary to me.
I feel so bad for her because
Yeah.
she really didn't need to be in this
Tacked
movie.
on.
It wasn't her fault.
No.
I would
Well-
say yes too, and I'd be out of place in a Batman movie too. But I'd still say yes.
My problem with her role in general was she felt unnecessary. She almost felt like
Yeah.
she was there so that Bruce would have someone to talk to about things. And like you'd have a couple moments where he's like, but I love her. Maybe.
Yeah.
It was almost like a studio mandate. It felt like, okay, well, he has to have a love interest. We
Right.
can't get back into the is Batman gay situation. We got out of
Right.
that. We need to fix. So you give
Yeah.
him. So like, as much as she to me, rewatching this, I just felt like she was just completely unnecessary. The biggest scene she had is when she got gassed and he's trying to save her with the tumbler.
Yeah.
Which is why he was being all over the place. But
Oh, totally.
that role could have been anybody. It didn't
Yeah.
have to be Rachel.
No. Well, it
Stephen Gordon.
could have been Gordon. It could have been
That's-
Alfred.
That's what I mean. Like, there's a number of people that could have lined up too. It just felt very weird and out of place.
Yeah.
The whole Ra's al Ghul situation I thought was awesome. I loved, like you said, it felt like we got an hour and a half in. In my head, I remembered Ra's al Ghul being at the ending, but I thought it was like Scarecrow right to Ra's.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't remember there being like, we resolved Scarecrow. That's done.
Yeah,
And then there's an hour left of
Yeah,
Ra's al
I
Ghul.
bashed his face into a concrete divider. Like, the guy is
I
done.
love the nuts on Nolan to just be like, I'm gonna put Scarecrow in this movie and then give him one confrontation with Batman, and then he's done. Batman
Poops
wins.
his pants.
Moving
That's
on.
Going with the realistic aspect, that's always been the more realistic Scarecrow. Like,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
encounter with
Scarecrow's
Scarecrow's
a little
never had him
weasel.
fighting.
Yeah.
Right.
It is like, and his Scarecrow's great. Like when he finally, I like the idea. I like when he pulls out the mask and he's like, "Would you like to see my mask?" It's a really fun scene. Also, it's like, it's if you want to subscribe to the idea that like Gotham was like riddled with organized crime and now it's riddled with costume crime, like this is the tipping point. Like all this stuff was bubbling under the surface. Like Crane's like, I have this mask. I use it on crazy people who can't corroborate my doings, but like eventually things are gonna get nuts around here, and I'll be able to wear this outside. Like I want to. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like that's neat to see, and I really like that.
It's such
it's
a cool turning point when like I think one of my favorite little moments in the movie is when Batman goes into Arkham to
Yeah.
confront Scarecrow and figure out what he's doing. And Scarecrow's the only one that noticed that like really realizes what's going on. He takes his mask off and he just goes, "He's here." And his little goon
Yeah.
is like, "Who's here?" He goes, "The Batman." And he's like terrified but like
Trailer
kind of like
moment.
really intrigued.
yeah. No, that moment I think is in the trailer. It's also I think one of the first times anyone says the Batman,
Yeah.
which is rare and it's really fun to hear. I think they said it in the '89 movie too. But in any case, it's good. It's good stuff. We didn't talk about Liam Neeson. He's great.
Well, it's not with the race thing. Liam Neeson was great. I loved that. I don't know why I was confused as a kid and believed that he wasn't Ra's al Ghul.
You're right.
Because it's so obvious the moment he's introduced.
Well, he's doing
yeah.
a Ra's voice. You're like, okay, you're Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
But they
And
named
the
him
other
Henry
one doesn't
Ducard.
talk.
Yeah, but no, he talks. He says stuff. But like, they gave him the Ra's mustache. I loved that they called him Henry Ducard. So they're like, those comic book fans are gonna say, oh no, Henry Ducard's a major character in the comic book. So like, the misdirection will work. It didn't, but even still, that was also another disappointing thing for me, where he was like, "Is Ra's al Ghul immortal?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're not doing that, are we?" I kind of hoped we would.
Yeah.
We
I
still
think
could,
there's-
and then the third one
Yeah.
they didn't.
I think there's definitely there's maybe there could have been plans for that at some point. Like they obviously leave it ambiguous. Like if
Yeah.
we want to talk about the big final moment where some people consider Batman killing
Right.
Ra's,
I have to save you.
maybe there's like cut scenes somewhere, or it's supposed to be implied that Batman knew that Ra's was immortal. Like he picked up on that and was just like,
Yeah.
I don't got to save you this time. Like I know you're gonna come back, so
Right.
I'm just gonna let you. Like we never see the body.
But
And the whole point of Ra's al
but
Ghul
the
is that he
train
now
does
doesn't
get
die.
demolished. I mean,
Sure.
the best part about that is, though, it just like watching all of these, I still remember once again the arguments that came out of Batman v Superman, where he's like whipping around with the guns in the car, and everyone's like, Batman doesn't kill. Okay, so I've now watched 5 Batman movies in succession, and Batman sure as shit has been killing the whole way through.
And the reason, I think the reason movie Batman kills is because Hollywood executives are like, I mean, duh.
It's just funny
Everyone
because
kills people.
I think the problem is, up until Batman v Superman, you could account for, well, did he let them die? Maybe Ray's got away.
Yeah.
Maybe the goons he kicked off of the bell tower survived. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I don't buy for a second that Keaton's Batman doesn't kill. He
like kicks guys down like a
100%.
He has
20-story
machine
bell.
guns on the Batmobile. He dropped bombs on regular people out of the Batmobile in that chemical plant. Like
But that's what I mean. That's why I find it hilarious, the argument. Like, Batman shouldn't kill. Snyder got it wrong. And I'm like, well, Snyder just followed what the other 8 Batman movies did. So I don't know what you're talking about.
His
They
normal
definitely-
conclusion. I mean,
Snyder definitely made Batman way more brutal, though, and a little
Yeah,
more
well, yeah.
obvious.
Ends people with an iron. That is so over the top silly. Like, that is so grimdark. I'm like, I would rather Batman just had a gun. At least then it would be like an homage to the original Detective Comics for like the first 3 issues, you know? But again, that's a difference. That's a horse of a different color.
Like, it's very clear, like, that there was intentionality behind Batman not killing in this movie,
Yeah.
which is why that moment at the end is so weird to me, because
Right?
like his arc is supposed to be that like if we take
That
the movie
he's
at face
right.
value, yeah, his arc is that he doesn't kill at the beginning. And then he does at the end, and it's supposed to be some kind of triumphant moment for Batman,
Right.
but then it just doesn't work at all because he's completely betrayed his character.
Yeah, exactly. No, like he's in trouble in the first place because he spares Ra's al Ghul, and it's like, and because
Right.
he spared that thief or murderer or whatever the hell.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
the
where it all
thief-
It's
started.
treated as that was a mistake. And it's
Right,
like, no,
like,
that's
no.
not the lesson.
Yeah, what? Like, no, you really should just kill these people.
You
because
should have
it's
killed the
way
thief and become the
easier.
leader of the League of Assassins. What you should have
Yeah.
totally done.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
You didn't
exactly.
find a loophole. You still killed this man by putting a train on top of him.
I also, you know, speaking of that scene, I actually found that one a little fun. Where he's like, "No, I'm not going to kill the thief." It goes back to the whole problem I have with some movies where, like, the person who, like, I'm going to rat you out to the police and blah blah blah, and we're alone. I'm just thinking, like, cool, you're not going to kill the thief. There's like 30 dudes behind you that will, and now they're also going to kill you. You
Right.
do realize you're in the mountains by yourself, Bruce.
Yeah.
Like you're not like surrounded by
he's
police,
Batman.
and they'll
I'm
all
telling you,
agree
man, that's
with
just
you.
like this his latent rich privilege, where he's like, well, obviously I made a
yeah.
decision, and they'll just honor it, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, we're gonna kill you in the woods.
Yeah, you are not it. Look, I'll agree. Don't kill the thief. But if I, I'll tell you guys right now, if I get in a position where I'm surrounded by men who are
ninjas?
trained to be assassins, followed by an old guy who's got a sword to my throat, and he's like, "Take the sword and kill this man." Sorry, random thief. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't take 30 dudes.
Yeah. I guess Batman just has a lot of confidence. He's like, no, I can take 30 dudes.
It's just such a weird scene, in my opinion, because I'm getting tired of so many plots in these superhero movies being completely set up by, I'm not thinking.
Yeah, no. If you need to rely on your protagonist to be a dummy, then you failed as a writer in that moment, at least.
It just makes sense. Like, Bruce, you are not in a situation where you can argue with them. I get you don't want to lead all these people and you want to go back to Gotham. I'm sorry, but you probably have to kill the thief and then leave, like, in the night, like, not defiantly tell 30 people no.
Yeah. One quick
Again, like that's such a weird thing because you could have had him kill that thief, and then his arc is by the end he doesn't kill Ra's, and
Right, and that would make more
is
sense.
Like, there we go. That's Batman.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
even on the thief, does Bruce think the moment he ran away, they just let the thief walk?
Right? No,
Right, no, that guy's dead. He's
He killed, like,
burned
100
alive.
at least the Ra's al Ghul stand-in burned alive.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so
You killed more people by
right.
escaping.
No, he killed everyone in that building. Batman's music is really integral to the character, I think, especially in media. Batman the animated series, Shirley Walker, Danny Elfman, 89. Now we've got is it Hans Zimmer who did the theme
Yeah,
for
it
this
was
one?
Hans Zimmer for these ones.
think
Yeah,
so.
I believe so.
Great score, great
Yeah,
theme
loved
for
it.
Batman.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Really works. Just good music.
And I
Nolan.
do want to comment on the cinematography, but it's almost a given when you've got Christopher Nolan being your director. It's like,
it looks good, yeah.
yeah, you're not going to get Christopher Nolan and get a shitty cinematography. It's just not going to happen.
No. He
I
does
think
need
this,
a
this
storyboarder.
this movie is like, I would like the interesting like about the cinematography. If this movie looked like the Batman does, I probably would love it just as much.
Right.
With like, I think this one's a little more flawed, but like I just love, not to like start talking about the Batman, but that movie is just like perfect.
We're getting there. We're going to
Visually
get there.
me.
We're going to re-review Batman soon.
Yeah.
The HBO Max edition.
Yes, that's true.
I will say, having rewatched this, I do like it.
Yeah.
My complaint about how realistic this trilogy gets, I think, is more reflective of the next two. Because, like, with this one, Scarecrow's got the fear gas. That makes sense. Ra's al Ghul could have survived if he ends up being immortal, and we just don't reference it. So we're not breaking Batman's kind of like... We're not taking... Batman breaks logic a lot of times to do what Batman's doing, and right
Yeah.
now nothing is really breaking logic. It all
No.
lines up, and it makes sense. But to keep with that realism mentality through Bane and Talia and all this stuff, I think that's where I started to be like, oh...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's my problems. Because I do remember most of my complaints about it just being too realistic came out of the third one, which I always confuse the names of. I think that's the Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
Not Returns.
I do
Returns
know
is a
that's where
comic
most
book.
of my problems are with the portrayal of Bane and the portrayal of
think-
Talia. And
Yeah, I think there's diminishing returns. I mean, Dark Knight is just like where you need to stop. I mean, although I would love to see an alternate reality where we did get more Joker in the third one, because we've never gotten more Joker. Ever.
yeah. Was he
Like-
supposed to originally come back before Heath Ledger's passing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The plan was
I think
to
that
ratchet
that
it up.
definitely makes sense, because I think that's something Nolan like clearly enjoyed doing. Because in Dark Knight, Scarecrow comes back, and like
Yeah,
one of the best
constantly.
scenes in any Batman movie.
Oh, the hockey pad scene? Yeah.
Yeah, just it's so silly.
so
We'll get
weird.
there.
He like
Yeah,
won't
we'll
leave him
get there.
alone. But yeah, so overall, Batman Begins, solid movie, still holds up. I think it's worth
time.
watching, especially in a. Do you think it works without the context of the Schumacher movies, and does it almost? Because I think that there's an argument that can be made that it was overpraised because of the like Batman and Robin. Like you're watching.
I
the whole,
do think it was overpraised. Watching it now 17 years after it came out, and we've had other portrayals of Batman have come
Right.
out. I do think that this movie gets a lot more hype and a lot more praise than the overall trilogy deserves. I do think it gets a lot of it due to nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because it did come out in 2005. We just had shitty Batman movies. We just had campy, weird X-Men movies. And we didn't have the MCU yet.
Right.
So this came out at a time when getting a superhero movie was already a leap and a bound.
Yeah.
But getting one that was this good was like
Unheard
that was
of.
not a thing. You
It's
didn't-
just a good movie.
yeah, that's what I mean. This was a
you
good
break it
movie, and I think a lot of the praise that this trilogy gets does come out of that, because Dark Knight Returns or Rises, whatever the middle one, The Dark Knight also
Yeah.
came out before MCU took off, and we had,
Yeah.
there was more of a template for what we expect. So
Yeah. Well, there was an like I think by the time Dark Knight came out, I think we're hitting the MCU, but like
I'm checking
No,
the date on it.
no expectations.
2008.
Dark Knight was
2008.
08, I think.
So
Yeah.
it's that's right. Oh my God, no.
Same year.
Iron Man came first, and then Dark Knight came out. So yeah, people were.
And then the Hulk.
You know what's funny? That's the thing, right? That's the tipping point. Iron Man comes out right before Dark Knight, so everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And
Yeah.
then Dark Knight came out, and it was exponentially better
Yeah,
than
it was
Begins.
May 2nd for Iron Man and then July 18th for Batman.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, we're in an interesting period right now.
Yeah.
And it was
And that's what
very
I think-
exciting times.
And that's what I mean. I'm retracting a lot of my I hate the Dark Knight trilogy
Oh, sure. Yeah.
statements. I am. And it's going to be interesting to see if my new mentality holds through the whole trilogy.
Well, Dark Knight, you're going to be like, okay, well, that was awesome.
But I do think a lot of this does come out of nostalgia of we didn't. It's kind of like how a lot of us praise the original Iron Man, and I do think when we're done with Batwatch, it might be fun to go into an MCU rewatch. This
I would
far,
love that.
this far disconnected.
There's y'all want to watch?
Because I
This won't
love
happen.
Iron Man, but is it because Iron Man was the first Marvel movie that did this kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Or is it because Iron Man was a great movie? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
There's a cut that somebody made. I forget their name, but somebody made a chronological cut of the MCU.
I saw that. It's like a 20-hour movie. I'm like,
Yes.
That's
well,
not
it's
a movie.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like I have it downloaded, and I'm
do?
very curious to see. Like, I haven't started it yet because I wanna they download it in parts, or you can request a USB with the whole thing on it. And I tried to do that, but I didn't get a response. So I have it all parted out, but I want it to be just one long thing. And that is very difficult to render.
That's actually what my idea
thing.
was. I was going to bring it up to you guys later, but once we're done with the initial Batman movie watch, what if we did an MCU in chronological order, timeline order, to give it a different experience, as opposed to
we should do that cut. I think that would be interesting. Is if we, because it starts like. Because it's interesting, because, like, the first part starts with, like, one of the flashback scenes in Thor the Dark World.
Yeah, it starts with, like, Asgard and stuff. Like, this,
it goes from,
ago.
like, scenes from random movies from there, and then just plays the entirety of Captain Marvel, and then part 2 starts.
Yeah. Yeah, and it uses, deleted scenes as transitions to, like, make sense of everything. Yeah,
I mean, if you can get that for me, we could watch it in, like, watching the chronological movie order, hours 1 through 3.
Exactly. Right? Oh
it's like 9 parts. We could do it by parts. It would take forever.
It would take forever.
Anyway, yes, we'll be back hopefully next week with The Dark Knight, continuing our Batwatch until we get all the way caught up to The Batman. And then I think before we end this, we will have to double back to the original 60-something, 60s.
66, yeah. Like the
infamous shark repellent surfing Batman movie.
I love that movie. That was a movie I grew up on. I watched that movie a lot as a kid.
We have to end on that. I don't know where we can get it at this point, but
we can get it. It's fine.
All right, thank you guys for watching this episode of Batwatch right here at Absolutely Marvel and DC. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you want to be a part of the Absolute Armada, we bring out videos almost on a daily basis talking about current stuff, old stuff, movies in general. This is what we do here. Thank you so much for your continued support. See you next time.